I had barely stepped onto the town hall stage when my father leaned in close and said, "Don't touch the mic again, Talia. You're fired today. And if you say one more word, I'll tell them you're unstable." I froze for exactly 1 beat. Then I slipped the red badge lanyard off my wrist and set it on the podium. Under hundreds of eyes, my family announced they were selling Hale Fleet Systems, and in the very same moment they erased 10 years of my work with just 2 words: unstable. But they forgot one small thing. In my coat pocket was something no bigger than my thumb, and without it, this deal couldn't be handed over legally. I'm Stella. Comment, "I'm here," or tell me where you're listening from and what time it is where you are right now. If you like stories like this, hit subscribe so we can meet again, and stay until the end, because Talia isn't walking away empty-handed. Sometimes the biggest fear isn't losing your job. It's being labeled the problem just because you asked for fairness. If your own family could erase you with one sentence, what would you do to keep yourself? My father stepped out, voice slick like a rehearsed speech. Legacy, future, family. My mother stood beside him with that fundraiser smile. Then Kyle, my brother, was introduced as the successor, the one who would lead Hale Fleet into its next chapter. Kyle waved, confident, like those nights the system crashed had never happened. A security guard moved up to the podium and held out his hand for my badge. My eyes flicked down to the red lanyard on the wood, then lifted to the audience. One wrong reaction, and I'd become a scene. One tremble in my voice, and they'd have proof for that unstable label. I didn't give them that. My voice came out just loud enough for the front rows to hear, short and cold. "So who's signing off the system handover tonight, Kyle?" The whole room stalled, not with a loud noise, just a sudden blank space, like someone had pulled the power out of the air. Kyle blinked, his smile dying halfway. My father didn't answer. He only curled his lip and motioned for security to move faster, like speed could swallow my question. Off the podium, straight down the aisle, no looking back. The automatic glass doors opened, and cold wind snapped across my face like a clean slap. The parking lot was damp after the rain, streetlights reflecting off the pavement. My trunk popped open. A small tin box sat deep in the corner, its lid scratched up. It opened to something the size of my thumb, the master key token, cold and heavy. Under it was a folded stack of paper, edges worn, an old contract addendum from the year they told me it was just paperwork. The trunk shut with a sharp click. The driver's seat swallowed me in silence. My phone screen showed the closing schedule. The number sat there, clear in the worst way. 48 hours left. And they were selling something that couldn't be delivered without me. The engine stayed off. Both hands held the steering wheel for one tight beat, like if I let go, everything in my chest would spill out. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother, short, polished, the kind of message that always felt chosen like flowers for a centerpiece. Don't embarrass the family. No. Are you okay? No. Did you get home? Just face. Has anyone ever gotten a cold message like that from their own family? If you know that feeling, leave a comment that says, "I understand," so I know I'm not the only one. The car rolled toward South Austin. Wet roads, headlights stretching into long streaks across the windshield. Back at the apartment, the lights stayed off. Shoes came off, the coat went over a chair, and my feet carried me straight to the kitchen. Cold water ran. Soap spread over my hands, scrubbing until my fingertips stung. A pointless motion, but the only thing tonight that still obeyed. Under the faucet, my father's voice from the stage kept looping, the way he dropped the word unstable like a diagnosis, not a shove. On the table sat my old laptop, a sticker in the corner that used to make me laugh when I was 23. Keep calm and ship it. The screen lit up. No logging into company systems. After they took my badge and branded me the problem, leaving a trace would be career suicide. Instead, I opened my personal archive, the one I'd paid for every month, because years ago I begged them to fund backups and they called it too expensive. Folders by year appeared: 2017, 2019, 2022. Each one had the same thing: urgent emails, P0 tickets, release schedules, and those cold lines that always read like an order. Talia, handle it. One file pulled up, then another. Not to brag. To keep myself from being turned into someone who just says things? A memory flashed past like headlights cutting across a wall. The server room, the smell of hot plastic and stale coffee, a yoga mat tucked beside a rack humming with fans. That night, a chance to leave, an offer my friends would have dreamed of, got turned down because my father called, voice breaking. I'm going to lose everything. Back then, saving the company meant saving the family. Turns out family doesn't always save you back. My phone buzzed again. An old voicemail started playing because of one wrong tap. My father's voice, soft, almost pleading. Save me this time. I'll remember. I shut it off, like slamming a door that had been held open far too long. The master key token came out of the tin and landed on the table. Small, cold, silent, sitting there like a truth that didn't need arguing. The call went to Marianne Knox. She picked up after 2 rings, voice rough like she'd just stepped out of a late meeting. She didn't ask, what happened? She asked slowly, steady, do you want to be safe, or do you still want them to acknowledge you? My eyes stayed on the token, then the email chain on the screen. Silence long enough to hear the refrigerator hum. I want them to tell the truth. A beat on the other end, then that rough voice again. Tomorrow morning, 7:30, Blue Owl on South Congress. Don't bring a company laptop, and don't text anyone in the family. A very short pause. Keep everything clean. The next morning, Austin was still misting with rain. The coffee shop was just busy enough, spoons clinking, low conversations laying a thin blanket over everything. The chair across from me was already taken. 2 drinks sat neatly in place, 1 black, no sugar, and 1 latte. My habit, the one I'd never said out loud. A thin stack of papers slid out of a bag and hit the table like a medical chart. Here, she said, pushing the consultant agreement from years ago toward me. The paper looked harmless in the most infuriating way. Back then, they called it temporary. They said the company had to cut costs, payroll was heavy, insurance was expensive. Just switch me to contractor status to lighten the load. No one said the quiet part. Changing 1 word on paper changed my place in the family, from daughter to vendor. The first pages flipped fast. A finger stopped on the addendum. This, bold print, key custody and escrow. Any billed handover to the buyer required a digital signature generated by the master key token. That token had to be held under clearly defined custody, not the anyone can hold it way my family liked to talk. The hot cup in my hand got squeezed too hard. Back then, they handed me the paper and told me to sign. Sign? And it's family. The sentence came out short, no begging in it, no comfort. Just another section pointed out, brief and cold. Custody doesn't automatically belong to the company without a valid transfer process, meaning the token, the one sitting in the tin box at home, wasn't a company asset just because my father said so on stage. It belonged to whoever held proper custody under the contract, and that person was me. The problem was, holding the token didn't mean winning. It only meant this round was starting. Want to know how I used it without getting branded as a saboteur? Comment next. Silence stretched just enough. 2 wires pulled tight in my head. Use the token and block a massive deal, dragging this whole house into the spotlight. Don't use it and let them stamp unstable onto my name forever. Then step onto the stage and take credit like I never existed. It wasn't rage that made me want to scream. It was something emptier, like being shoved back into the familiar corner, behind the curtain, fixing it, finishing it. The voice across from me stayed even, but the words cut like a paper knife. Without your digital signature, the closing can become a wrongful purchase. Her eyes didn't let go of mine. The buyer will have to stop. And when they stop, they'll ask why the file says one thing, but reality says another. My heart hit harder. My head went cold. I don't want to make it loud. Then don't make it loud. A phone slid across the table. On the screen was a drafted email subject line. Notice of material misrepresentation. Send it to the right people, through the right door. Attach this clause. Attach proof of custody. Request an independent audit. You don't have to post a single word online. My latte had gone half cold. My hand rested on the papers, like it was resting on my own boundary. Do it, IT, I said. But everything has to be clean. Don't let them turn me into the guilty one again. Back at the apartment, my personal laptop came up fast. A new folder was created. Short, dry, case. There was no room for feelings in that folder. An email from HR dropped like a stone. Bold subject, reminder, confidentiality and post-employment obligations. The tone was steel, every sentence packed with shall and legal action. It mentioned the NDA, intellectual property, demanded any company-related materials be returned immediately. The last line was what they actually wanted. We have noted certain actions that may constitute improper retention of information. They didn't have to say stealing. They just had to plant the word inside your head. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. You're holding something that belongs to the company, Talia. Derek's voice oiled through the speaker. Don't make this worse. Sign the handover. My screen lit in my hand. One question came out clean. Are you calling me on a company line? A tiny stall on the other end. Doesn't matter, he snapped. Our lawyers are ready. Then send it in writing. I hung up. LinkedIn opened because I couldn't stop myself. Kyle had posted a glossy town hall photo with a polished caption, proud of our team and the journey, a long list of tags. My name wasn't there. Under founding engineering team, a stranger's name sat where mine had been. Like 10 years vanished with one quick edit. A message came immediately after, short as an order. Don't answer out loud. Screenshot it. Save the original. Pin the exact time, so tomorrow if they say you made it up, they can't flip it. I followed every step. Saved the HR email, logged the call number, captured the LinkedIn post with timestamp, downloaded voice logs from the carrier, everything filed into case, clean and cold. In this house, the moment they call me the problem, every word I say becomes evidence against me. So I chose the one thing they can't argue with, paper. That night, another email popped up. Not a threat. A schedule. Closing moved up. They'd pulled the time forward. The words closing moved up were still glowing on the screen when the doorbell rang. 2 short, polite chimes. I checked the peephole. My mother, beige coat, hair smoothed perfectly, a paper bag in her hand like she'd just stopped by a bakery, calm as if nothing happened last night. The door opened. Her familiar perfume filled the room, the scent that belonged to Sunday mornings at church. Can I come in? She asked, already stepping over the threshold. The bag landed on the kitchen counter. Brought cinnamon rolls. Her voice stayed light, like anyone listening from the outside would think this was a normal visit. She pulled out a chair, back straight, hands placed on her knees like she was sitting in the front pew. Just sign it so it can be over, she said, clean as a command. Don't make it loud. No mention of the stage. No. Are you okay? No. That was too far. Just sign. Then she moved to safe topics. Church was packed this week. The women's committee was fundraising. Neighbors were asking after us. Everyone watched the town hall live stream, she said with a small smile, like she was talking about weather. They said your dad looked so steady. In my coat pocket, the red lanyard sat there, my fingers squeezed until it hurt. Your father is under pressure, she said softly. Kyle is, Derek called me and said you're holding something you shouldn't. I don't want this to get dirty. The question came out before I could pretty it up. In this family, what am I, Mom? The air stopped. Her eyes dropped to the edge of the paper bag. The silence ran past what was polite. You understand how things work, she finally said. Light, but heavy enough to slam a lid on everything. That sentence had always been the lock. It locked away explanations, locked away the right to be hurt, locked away the right to be daughter instead of the one who handles it. I pulled out the red lanyard and laid it on the counter between 2 glasses of water. Dark red plastic, the strap worn where it rubbed my wrist. Look at it, I said quietly. I took it off in front of hundreds of people. Can you take off your fear of being embarrassed just once? Her eyes passed over it like it was something that would stain the countertop. Her lips pressed tight. No apology, no denial. Just a thin frown, like I'd ruined a tidy visit. And right then, the thing that had kept me staying, hope that one day my mother would stand beside me, fell apart. No crash. Just gone. She pushed her chair in. I just want peace, she said, still soft, but her eyes already shut. Don't make this hard for me. The door closed. The apartment returned to silence. My phone opened. A short, clean message went out. Send the notice. Tonight. As soon as it was sent, a PDF came back with one line. Read. Confirm. E-sign. The notice was short, every word like a nail. Material misrepresentation, key custody, escrow condition, request independent audit. The recipient list went straight to Northbridge. Legal, M&A, compliance. It didn't route the receipts through my family. It didn't give them a chance to intercept. The e-signature went on. The email sent, one tiny cent, and my hands went cold. 37 minutes later, a reply came in. No threats, no denial. Just one clean sentence, the kind you get from people holding real money. Please provide evidence of technical handover authority and custody of the master key token. We are pausing the process until we can verify. My heart sped up. One gear had just clicked into place. The case folder opened. The timeline pulled up like train tracks. The number of overnight releases, the number of P0 incidents I handled, the number of builds signed with the token over the last 2 years. The things they used to call behind the scenes now sat in columns. Emotionless, undeniable. My phone buzzed. Derek. What do you want here? He said fast. Money, a bonus, equity, sign a separate agreement, a new NDA. You stay quiet. Everybody wins. The scary part was, it sounded easy. Part of me wanted to nod just to be done, to sleep one night without being called the problem. My fingers touched the tin box on the table. The lid was cold. The token lay there like a period at the end of every cheap bargain. You can buy silence, I said, but you can't buy a digital signature you don't own. The line went stiff. You're destroying your own career. No, I'm stopping other people from using it. I hung up. The next email from Northbridge came in even more rapid. They wanted a technical demo and an independent audit within 24 hours. Not to hear me list my accomplishments, but to see with their own eyes who actually understood the core. Fine, I replied. Third party chooses the auditor. Minutes on record. Before attaching anything, my eyes caught one line in the attached diligence packet. Master key token, company asset held by Halefleet. A short sentence, but wrong in a dangerous way. The token was here, on my kitchen table, and someone had written that line into the file as if it were fact. The audit took place in a hotel conference room near downtown. Northbridge sat in a row, legal, M and A, compliance. Across from them were my family and Derek. My father sat upright, looking at me like I was a traitor. Kyle showed up late, sharp suit on, face like he was living inside his own LinkedIn post. No long presentation. The laptop opened. The dashboard came up. Signature chain, build numbers, handover checklist. I clicked twice. Logs appeared by timestamp. Which builds were packaged with which digital signature, who signed, when they signed. A Northbridge rep asked bluntly, "Who is holding the master key token under valid custody?" My father answered immediately, certain. "The company. Halefleet holds it. Company property." The tin box was set on the table. The lid flipped open. The token sat neatly on the fabric lining. Then it was placed in the middle of the table, right beside Northbridge's water glass. "No," I said, flat. "I am." The room went completely still. Derek leaned forward like he wanted to jump in. My father changed his tone, just loud enough for witnesses to hear. "You're causing trouble. You're unstable." I didn't argue. I only turned to Northbridge. "If custody isn't valid, what exactly are you buying?" Compliance lowered their eyes to the diligence file. The line, "Company asset held by Halefleet," sat there like a bruise. Legal requested the custody and escrow clause open to the exact page. Signatures, dates, transfer conditions. So clear there was no room left to perform. Kyle let out a half laugh. "It's just a key," Northbridge answered cold, barely looking up. "This isn't a key. This is a chain of trust. If this part earns a nod from you, tap like for Stella, and share it with someone who's had their work stolen, so they know they're not the problem." Northbridge conferred for exactly 1 minute. Then the M&A lead said, straight, "We're stopping the closing. There are signs of misrepresentation. From now on, technical handover will be handled through a side letter directly with you and the core responsible team. No intermediaries." My father half stood, then sat back down, like the weight of that sentence pulled him into his chair. Derek tried to smile, but the smile wouldn't stick. The token stayed on the table, small, silent, but enough to lock the whole room. As papers were gathered, a whisper landed close to my ear. "Not done. It's not just custody. There's another addendum they've been hiding." Right then, my father's phone lit up. He glanced at the screen. His face changed. His phone lit up and went dark again. He didn't answer, but the way his hand crushed the edge of the table made it clear it wasn't a harmless call. Northbridge packed up fast. The last words still hung in the air. Closing stopped, a side letter directly with me, and deeper verification ahead. Walking out of the conference room, a text came immediately. "Come to the office. There's something you need to see." No explanation. On the table was a new stack of addenda. Not the token, the voice dropped. Charity/vendor? Thin paper, heavy numbers. The language was pretty. Community, responsibility, charity. But the numbers weren't pretty. Off in a way you don't do by accident. Round amounts, repeated transfers, the same cluster of vendors over and over, timed tight around reconciliation cycles. It screamed compliance nightmare. The signatures under each page hooked like barbs. Derek, my father, and on one page, my mother's signature. Familiar handwriting, signed fast to get it done. My chest tightened for one beat. Not hatred. The feeling of being dragged into something I never agreed to. Do you think I should call my mom right now? Comment one word. Call or send. No one's concluded anything, the voice said steady. But Northbridge only has to see risk like this to slam the brakes. When they open the audit, they'll ask, approval flows, access rights, who configured the payment system? Your name will get pulled in because you built the core. My throat burned, but I swallowed it down. If I yelled one sentence now, tomorrow they'd clip it and call it proof I was unstable. Truth doesn't save anyone if you put it in the wrong hands. I emailed Northbridge Compliance directly. No blame, no begging, just the addenda attached, the mismatched amounts highlighted, and a request for full disclosure of every charity/vendor tie connected to the payment and approval systems. My finger paused for one beat over send. The image of my mother setting a bag of pastries on my counter and saying, "Just sign so it's peaceful," flickered through me like a shadow. Then I hit send. One sentence came out low and steady. I don't want to destroy anyone. I just want things to be called what they are before they destroy my life. Some revenge doesn't require raising your voice. You just put the truth into the hands that have authority. But the cost always comes after. Less than an hour later, Northbridge replied, investigation activated, full disclosure requested, financial technical handover frozen until all data was provided. At the same time, my phone kept buzzing. My father. Again. Then an unknown number. On the third answer, his voice was raw and rushed, no longer steady like on stage. Talia, what did you send? Talia, what did you send? The thing they wrote wrong on purpose, I said, and I sent it to the people who needed to know. His voice caught, then turned urgent. Come here, now. The meeting got pulled into a small conference room at headquarters, no stage lights, but the air felt heavier. My father sat in the center, Kyle beside him. Derek settled in like he owned the place. My mother sat off to the side, hands tight around her water glass, eyes not resting on anyone for long. My father spoke first, fast like he was afraid of being interrupted. What do you want? Money, a title, an apology. He swallowed once, then added, I can give you a position. You deserve. Just withdraw the notice. Don't push this any further. Kyle slid in, voice sweet in a fake way. Sis, I know you're hurt, but everybody's watching. If you stay this hard, they'll think you're sabotaging us. He tilted his head like he cared. Let's handle it in the family. Derek didn't bother with soft. We can sign a separate deal, a payment, a new NDA. You keep quiet about the addendum and everything stays clean. HR won't touch you anymore. He pressed the word, clean, like it was a gift. All three kept talking, swapping tones like masks, threat, then softness, then family as a noose. They didn't want an agreement. They wanted time. They wanted me to pull it back before Northbridge decided. Give me 10 seconds, I said. I didn't look at them. I looked down at my bare wrist, where the red lanyard used to be. A small emptiness, but tonight it felt like a marker. A quick, tiny image flashed. 2 a.m., in a parking lot, sitting in my car, eating a granola bar, my laptop glowing blue, telling myself, just save it one more time, and they'll see you as a person. An old hope that had fed me and chained me. I exhaled. I looked up. I'm not signing to be loved anymore, I said, slow and clear. I'm signing so things are right. I set my terms on the table, not like begging, like closing. 1, written confirmation that custody of the token is mine under the addendum. 2, withdraw every HR accusation, a written apology, and a retraction of the improper retention email. 3, correct the diligence file that falsely lists the token as a company asset. 4, every handover and negotiation goes through attorneys from now on. No more verbal deals, My father opened his mouth like he wanted to fire back, then stopped. Kyle looked to him for a cue. Derek gave a dry laugh. You're asking for too much. No, I said. That's the minimum so I don't get buried under the word unstable again. My phone buzzed. A new Northbridge email flashed on the screen before my father could hide it. They were terminating the old deal structure and demanding a direct renegotiation on the technical side with me and the core team. One cold line underneath, Derek was removed from the exchange chain pending compliance findings. In that moment, my father wasn't a leader anymore, just a man realizing the witnesses weren't on his side this time. My mother stayed silent. She didn't look at me. Her eyes stayed on the tabletop, like if she didn't look at her daughter, the truth would weigh less. A door closed somewhere, quietly. No screaming, no tears, just a new, clear, cold space. I won the right to be told true, but the cost was sitting right there in that silence. The new contract was signed in a bright white room. No flowers, no champagne, no one saying family to soften anything. Just clear terms, clear responsibility, and one custody confirmation line in the right place. My name clean on the page, no longer yanked around by emotion. Northbridge demanded transparency. So did I. No more midnight calls with, help me this time. No more verbal deals that turned into me being the problem the next day. When the pen went down, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like finally breathing with my own lungs instead of breathing through someone else's approval. The thing that had held me wasn't the company, wasn't the token, wasn't the threats. It was that old hope that if I just tried a little harder, someday they'd see me as human. When that hope fell, it hurt for one beat. Then it got lighter. The cost arrived fast and quiet, no more family dinners. My mother's texts became short and polite, like thank you notes. Kyle vanished from every conversation, like I was a topic that made people uncomfortable. My father didn't apologize, and he didn't get to give orders anymore. Justice wasn't sweet. It was like black coffee, sharp, awake, and bitter enough to remember. One afternoon, the car passed the old headquarters. The building was still there, glass catching the sun, the gate still opening and closing for other people's badges. I didn't turn in. I just stopped at a red light, looked over like I was looking at a place that used to be home, then lifted a hand and touched the bare spot on my wrist where the red lanyard used to bite. Green light. The car moved. I kept going. No need to declare who was right or wrong. Only this. A boundary got chosen. And for the first time, that boundary was respected in writing, in front of witnesses, with the truth put through the right door. And before I close, Stella wants to say one short thing. The story you just heard is fictional, created with the support of AI and edited by humans to offer reflection and emotional value, not to encourage anyone to imitate it. Real life is complicated, and if you're in a situation like this, prioritize your safety, the right support, and legal advice if needed. Sometimes what we need isn't to defeat someone. Sometimes it's to stop turning being useful into a chain that ties us down. Now you, where are you listening from, and what time is it where you are? Comment and tell Stella, typing I'm here is enough. If this story touched you in any way, tap like and subscribe so we can meet again in the next episodes. Turn on the bell too, so you don't miss a new story by accident. Thank you for staying until the end, because every view, every comment is like a reminder that some people still believe in the truth, even when it isn't easy to hear. And if you want to keep going, there are more stories on this channel. Stories for anyone who's been pushed away from the table and learned how to place themselves back again.